Hi there, beautiful people. Running a little bit late, but really happy to be here. Very excited for this chat. And of course, I have to begin with a little music. All right, if you can name that tune, let me know. This chat is gonna all be about amor, love. And the song we have is, name it, The Glow of Love. All right. That's it. All right, so if any of you are curious about what we're going to chat about today, you're going to find out in a minute when at 4 o'clock I invite in the wonderful woman that I'm going to interview, Laurie Gerber. But for now, I'm going to tell you why I even care about talking about love, relationship, why any of that matters. If many of you know me, you know that I am definitely a flower child. I love everything about love, and I love everything about relationship. I think the greatest gift that we can give to ourselves is to invest in relationship. Hi, Melanie, not Melanie. I have definitely learned more from my relationship that I've had than not. And some of them have been good, bad, and ugly. I'm sure we've all been there. There's relationships that are really tough. But sometimes the tough ones are really worth the fighting for, without the fighting part. Laurie Gerber, who I'm going to invite in about 10 minutes, is a life coach and a love expert who I worked with for 2 sessions. I did a weekend workshop with her called Design Your Life, and it was a weekend of a lot of work diving into what do you want your life to look like? What do you want to bring to your life? What are your dreams? All of those things that we talk about all the time, but in order to get those answers, we had to do a lot of work. And we had to dive into lineage and language and history, and it was the best weekend I've had in my life. I learned more than I ever have, and at the end of that weekend, it was part of a group called the Handel group, which I can talk about another time. But at the end of that weekend, Laurie was the host or the teacher for the whole weekend. And at the end of that weekend, I said, Laurie, we did a one-on-one. I said, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I still work at the hotel, but I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do. She said, okay, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a life coach. That's what I want to do. I want to be a life coach. And she looked at me and said, you got to clean up your dirty laundry before you're a life coach. And I'm like, what do you mean? She didn't say it like that, but that was my interpretation. Meaning that you've got to clean up your relationship, your marriage. You gotta get it right before you can be a life coach, before you can coach others into learning how to navigate through love and work and changes and growth and family and dreams. No, Billy and I are good. We're good. We're fine. We've got this. No, you don't. So then I said, all right. So Billy and I did a couples weekend weekend coaching with her. I had one day with her. Billy had one day with her. And then Billy and I together had one day with her. It profoundly changed my life, his life, and our marriage. We are now 23 years together. I think we did that in everything pre-pandemic. So 2018, 19, 21, 4 years ago. It profoundly changed my life. And I have like 8 minutes before Laurie comes. So the abbreviated version of what the weekend was about. I had to write my list of all the things that drove me crazy about him, from the toilet seat, can I get a holler, women, to I don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but I had a long laundry list. And then he had to write a long laundry list. He had a longer laundry list. Then we had, that was the easy part. Oh my God, that was the fun part. Then we had to write letters. Dear Billy, I am sorry for blank. I'm sorry for that day I was a real bitch. I was in a shitty mood and I treated you like crap. Whatever it might be. Dear Billy, I'm sorry for blah. And he had to write, Dear Diana, I'm sorry for blah. And then we had to do a lot of other things, which I don't have enough time because I've got 7 minutes left. But we had to look at lineage. We had to look at about our parent. And so I love the mind. I love woo-woo, but I love the mind and the scientific mind of breaking things down in a very clear way. And that's what Laurie does. We're all very good at making everything complicated and busy and messy. We're really good at that. But are we good at making things clear? Like, just break it down, clear. So the trait that, there are traits that my mother had that are similar to my husband. There are traits that my father had that are similar to me and to him. There's a whole thing about lineage and traits. Then there's a whole thing of language. Then there's a whole chapter on communication and how we communicate. And can I get a holler from any of the women who interrupt their man? Cricket? I do. All the time. So this weekend blew us away. Totally blew us away. Everyone say hi to Livy, my favorite Livy. The weekend was incredible because we both did homework. Then we came together on a couch and we sat there. We were in tears. I mean, to look at someone that you love and you dig into the deepest and the darkest and the painful areas and say, Dear Billy, I'm so sorry that I did that. Or, Dear Diana, I'm so sorry that I did that. I had no idea of the impact. And then they talk about, we've got all the family here. Then everyone say hi to Stephanie. Steph. Anyway, then we talk about, so in a nutshell, I have Laurie Gerber coming on for anyone who's coming on late. And yeah, say hi to Livy and say hi to Steph. They are my family. Laurie Gerber, my life coach and love expert, who is brilliant, had Billy and I for a weekend and doing a workshop. And by the end of the weekend, it was so incredibly clear of how we get in our own way. And I think, 5 minutes, I'll give you 2 examples. There's a thing called consequences and promises and CEO and president. I'll make it really quick. For example, when I was writing my cookbook, I was cooking up a storm and trashing the kitchen. And then I was walking away from the kitchen and kind of making Billy do all the dishes. Yeah, I mean, why not? Anyway, not cool. Not fair. So, the promise is, Billy, if I'm writing a cookbook or doing an experiment or doing something for YouTube or whatever, and I'm cooking for my professional career, then I'm going to cook and I'm going to clean, or I'm not going to do it. But if we're cooking together, then we cook together and we clean together. So the promise is, Billy, if I do anything for my professional career, I promise to clean the kitchen. Now here's the ticker, people. I might do YouTube, Liv. What do you think about YouTube? Anyway, here's the ticker. If I promise Billy and I fail at it, I will post this for anyone who's got to go. If I fail, if I don't do the dishes, I have a consequence. And guess what the consequence is? I have to wear high heels for a whole day, 8 hours, 5-inch heels. I don't wear heels. I'm barefoot woman or flat shoes. So there was a promise and a consequence. Billy had it too. I'm not going to go into details. We got 3 minutes. CEO and pregnant. Very simple. I'm always late. If anyone knows me, I have an issue with time. The other thing is, whenever Billy and I would go somewhere and we would take the subway, I'd say, honey, let's just take the N and the R and then walk. And he would have a whole different way. And for a little moment, we would fight about which way to go to a location. Dumb, right? Really dumb. So in the relationship, if you have a troubled area, we had transportation. That's it. Subway. You make a CEO and a president. So Billy is the CEO of the MTA, of the subway. I know it sounds stupid, but trust me, it's brilliant. I was the president. Billy would tell me what time to meet him at the door when we're going out to dinner. Honey, meet me at 7 o'clock. That way I couldn't be late. I had to figure out my day and make sure I'd meet him at 7 o'clock. I'd meet him at 7 o'clock and he would take me his way. My lips were sealed. I had to just go his way. Oof. First couple times was tough. But I think what I'm trying to get at is all that noise and all that stupid fighting, which we all do. In a relationship, there's no one that can't agree with me. We fight about don't sweat the small stuff. Don't fight about the silly things. We would fight about, no, I want to take the N and the R. No, I want to take the 2. Really? Bye, Cindy. So, in conclusion, before I invite Laurie, the CEO and the president clarified if you have a target issue, that's a problem. I'm a control freak. Let go of the control, women. We control too much. Let go of the control. Billy is the CEO of the MTA. I mean, I'm the CEO of a lot more. But Billy is the CEO, and I see Laurie here, and I'm the president. So I am going to see if I can do it. I'm getting good at this. Do we have a Laurie? Do we have a Laurie? And we have a Laurie!
Yay!
Why do I get so excited when it works?
I mean, it's magic. That's why.
Like, I'm still new at it. I mean, you're like a veteran. You're on it all the time.
But it's still a miracle every time. It really is.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So
right,
I just get a little.
I heard you talking about the president. Love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the wonderful Laurie that I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. Everyone's going to have a Laurie. Laurie is a life coach and a love expert, but beyond that, she's a friend, she's a mama, she's a phenomenal wife, and she's my teacher. And I love her. And I have been trying to do this for a year, so this is a very special moment, people. We have half an hour to get some goodies in, and if I'm lucky, hold that thought. If I'm lucky, there we go. If I'm lucky, we can do another one of these. But welcome, Laurie.
Pleasure to be here.
So I have 5 questions, actually 4. So I'm going to dig right into it. This is all about, obviously, love and relationship. So the biggest gratitude tool that I had when I was talking about the relationship weekend that I did with you and Billy was the 2 things that I talked about, but if you're just joining on live, is consequences and promises, and CEO and president. Can you explain both and why and the value in abbreviation?
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I went through the same process you went through with my marriage in Handel group coaching. So when I came in, just like any client, we have to say how we're doing in all the areas of life. And when it came to my love life, even though I did not want to focus on it, I gave it a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10 because we were coexisting, we were co-parenting, we were not a disaster. We weren't an overt disaster. No one would have looked at us and said like, oh my God, that's terrible. But it was kind of terrible, right? There was no sex happening. There was no intimacy. There was no connection. There were frequent arguments. We were approaching a near divorce experience. So I went through this same exact coaching I gave you. I went through myself. And the first thing that my coach did was give me promises and consequences, like in the first session. because she was like, there's just glaring things that are not working. Just from we're going to do emotional work. We're going to do spiritual work. We're going to like burn this to the ground and rebuild it. But in the meantime, could you please just do the basic appropriate things that you need to do for your marriage?
Which is actually the hardest. Like, yeah, which is the hardest. Yeah.
Right. So she gave me very simple promises. She had me start eating according to how I thought I should be eating so that I could feel good in my body and present. She had me, she had me start showing up to family dinner on time, not late. And my husband was cooking and I was working and I didn't give a shit. And then she had me start having sex again. At that time, once a week was a radical breakthrough for having sex again. Okay. And then stop interrupting. Right. Those were like the basic promises. Right. And that changed. It really changed everything before I ever even went to work on all of the archaeological issues we had in the relationship. So, and the other fun thing was she said, you know, I don't need you to feel guilty. I don't need you to depend on your willpower. Just put in a consequence if you don't keep the promise. So just show up to 6:30 dinner or pay your kids $20. Just, you know, don't interrupt or give your husband a blowjob, right? Or, you know, just have sex once a week, or next time you have sex, have it on the floor, right? Like she just was like, just let's make this simple, right? If you don't eat properly, give up all your sugar the following week. So I was just like, I could not argue with the logic of like, let's see what happens if you just do what you think is right. And she didn't make the rules. I made the rules based on what I thought was right. And it turned out to be very helpful. So that's promises and consequences. Now, you want to talk about CEO and president too?
Yeah, throw it in. Yeah.
I'll throw it in, but it's a big topic, and it is, I would say, probably on the top 4 most common things couples argue about is who does what. It's like this it's like, and everyone thinks it should be obvious somehow, or like it should be easy to work out. But just like in a company, there's an org chart, there's job descriptions, there's meetings, there's accountability, there's performance reviews, why would it be any different in any relationship? It's the same thing. You have a mission, you have things you want to accomplish, and then you have fucking humans. So why wouldn't you need...
Yeah. We don't look at it that way, though.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was another thing we had to do, is literally look at every single thing we were responsible for in our household. Everything from paying the bills, to the children's clothing, to our sex life, to thank you notes, to planning holidays, to vacation. It's like 100 things, okay? It's like very boring and nerdy, as you know. But being explicit about it changes everything, because then you actually go, first of all, do I like mine? Do I like my accountabilities? Do I think they're doing a good job in their accountabilities? And then all the stuff you're grumbling about to yourself and to each other comes out of the woodwork to be actually handled philosophically and emotionally, and then physically. Okay, how are we going to...
In a corporate way, in a structural corporate way. Right? It is. Wow, it is kind of like running a company.
It is just exactly like running a company, right? You have a mission, what you want, and then you have jobs.
Yeah. Wow. And I forgot about the 1 to 10. The 1 to 10 is really good without getting into it. 1 to 10 was part of Design Your Life too. But the 1 to 10 is really taking a step back and, pulling the camera back and looking at, how is my accountability in certain areas? Because we're all full of shit. So how many times are we willing to go, oh, maybe I'm really at a 4. When I say, oh, I'm having sex all the time, oh, it's wonderful, yes. And I'm not,
Can you remember the last time?
Yeah, can you remember?
Can I tell you how full of shit I was? At one of the points that I was doing this work on myself, I was making more money than my husband. And because I was making more money, I was like, I'm entitled to him doing literally every fucking other thing, right? Like, I was like, I owe nothing.
I did that too. I did that too.
There might be some other, couples who can relate to this. So, and then my mother actually is the one who pointed out this to me. She just said, like, Laurie, just for shits and giggles, why don't you add up what you'd have to pay someone else to do everything your husband does? So just like all of the financial accounting he does, and all of the child care that he does, and all of the house care he does, and all the cooking he does, and all of the, like, she just like, why don't you just add that up and see if he is actually getting a good deal?
Yeah. And then you were like, oh.
Oopsie.
Okay.
I think I owe you some money and some chores. So it just was an awakening to look at things in black and white versus just my little entitled that I had.
Yeah. Well, before I go to the next question, I will tell you, it's amazing that when you were, in your beginning stages, just to look at that one thing of, promises and consequences. I mean, it is, in a weird way, it is like a company, it's like your boss saying, I need you to have these deadlines done by that, or you're going to be fired, or whatever. It's not that way, but it's like, but you treat your job like, oh, I have to have the deadline, but yet a promise to your husband, you're like, oh, whatever. So it is really, and the fact that you were like, all I had to do was like be to dinner on time and maybe one blowjob or, whatever. It's like, you only have 4 things that you have to do, but yet it took you, I don't know, 10 years to figure that out.
More. No,
okay. Anyway.
About 10 years.
I
wasn't even close, Diana. I wasn't close.
Yeah. But the thing I love, we have a young girl on here. Hi, Major. We can't say any bad words or whatever. Anyway, hi, Major. We're talking about love and relationship. She's only 11, so I don't think you're going to fall in love for a while. But anyway, so the thing I love about working with Laurie is the clarity. Like, it just goes like, oh, hello. So question number 2. This is a tough one. We've all been there. I know I have. Do I stay or do I go? What are the tools, tips, and wisdom around that very complicated question?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I post on Instagram every day, and I dedicate, I can't remember what day of the week it is, maybe Thursdays, just to the topic of breaking up. Because,
really?
My joke is that I would say like 80% of people come to me to figure out what to do, like to improve their life, to find love, to create a business, to do an art project, like to do something. But 20% come to get out of something, right? Like they just need help being brave enough to get out of something. So I'm a big proponent of getting out of something that's not right for you. So these are my bottom lines. If you're being abused, get out. Period. Okay? That's one answer. But if you're just not sure the person is your person, we like to use the 3H criteria rubric, and we actually like to catch people before they fall in love so that they vet people before they end up going steady or getting married to somebody who does not meet the 3H criteria. What are the 3 H's? Your head, your heart, and your hoo-ha. Your head has to be satisfied. It has to be practical. If you want to live in New York, they want to live in New York. If you want to have a dog, they want to have a dog. If you want to go to bed at 9 o'clock, they will be quiet at 9 o'clock or go to bed at 9 o'clock, right? The heart, how does it feel? Do you trust them? Do you have fun with them? Do you love them? Does it feel good? Is the communication good? Is it equal whatever you love? And then are you turned on? And so according to the Handel method, it's got to be 8 or above in all 3 H's. So we don't let you have a 4th date if you're dating if the person doesn't pass muster in all 3 H's. And we have a very robust curriculum for how to vet people and how to move people through that process and determine if they are an 8 or above, and then how to say no if you're not interested. If you're already in a relationship and it was 8 or above, cool, right? You were turned on, you did trust and love them and have fun with them, and it did work for your life. And then something changed. That's when we do our couples competency work. That's when we do our whole
that's what we did.
Relationship remediation, which is where you dump all your archaeology on the table. You dump all the hurts, all the bad traits that interact, all the bad habits, all the grumbles, all the complaints, all the bad things, incidents, and you go through them one by one by one. And in that process, you hit spiritual alignment or philosophical alignment, meaning like, do you guys philosophically agree? Like, do you believe in hitting the kids or not? Do you believe in going the speed limit or not? Do you believe in equality or not? You hit the emotional healing, which is, can we forgive you? Can we hear and understand each other's hurts, and can we forgive them and make promises to do better? And then physical, can we design it so it's going to go better and we hack our issues? And then can we stick to that design? So that's the process I take someone through who wants to stay together, but the H's have dropped and they're going, should I stay or should I go? I go, well, do all the work. You might as well do all the work. Because even if you leave the person or divorce the person, you're still gonna have to deal with them on some level, either because you'll pick the same thing again or because you have children with them. So might as well do all the work with that person, and that will reveal stay or go, because there could be irreconcilable differences and there could be very reconcilable differences. That's what you find out when you do that process.
Yeah. And I am actually, I mean, it's brilliant work that Laurie does, but I'm a perfect example of, you know, when were we with you? 18? Was I diabetic?
I literally never remember the year.
It was 18. I was a new diabetic. It was 2018.
Okay, great.
It was like diabetic and pandemic are my two markers. So it was 18. It was 2018, and I'm madly in love with Billy, but we had issues. And I wouldn't say we were broken, but we had issues, and they were building, and we hadn't looked at them for a while. And Laurie had it for a weekend, and we dumped everything on the table, and we dug into all of those issues. And it was hard work, but it was brilliant work. It was the third therapist that I've been to with Billy. The other two were just like drive-by, and they were fine. They kind of like, they planted the seed. But Laurie planted the forest. I mean, and maybe because we had the other two, so it was hard for Billy. Men don't like therapy, so it was hard for Billy to begin with therapy. So number one was gentle, number two was gentle, and really was all about Billy. But then number three, Laurie, was all about him and I, and how can we shift and change the things that don't work for either one of us as individuals or the couple. And it was a weekend of hard work, but the best work, and still today, 4 years later, we are constantly talking about you and applying the tool. I mean, you gave us a toolbox.
Yeah.
And so we opened it up.
That's what
Yeah. And I called you the other day when we were having a problem about, we have some medical things. We have Chico not well. Billy had a blood clot. We had a bump. And I'm like, help, I need you. And you're like, no, you know. And I tapped back in. I looked at my notebook. I went through all the tools, and I'm like, actually, I do know.
Yeah.
And Billy knows, and we can do it together. Yeah.
That's such a great endorsement, really, because that's what I loved about the Handel method. It was tools I had in my toolbox that I was never gonna not have, and I was never gonna. It was never gonna not work. It was always gonna work. So it was great that I got helped in that moment. But to tell you the truth, in that moment, I didn't think it was that bad. I figured out how bad it was by using the tools, and then I got the tools for life, which it turned out I really needed for every.
You need it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you get a tune-up for your car, you get a tune-up for your body, whatever. I mean, relationships need tune-up. We're human, and then you throw life and stress and bullshit, Yeah, it's a no-brainer. All right. Number 3, this is a little bit hard. Lineage. I'm fascinated by lineage and how it plays a role in our relationship. I know you talk about it a lot. Can you break it down? Short version. I get 4:15 and I got 2 more questions.
My short version is you better like your partner's parents, because that's who you're getting.
Wait, can you repeat that one more time? Everyone pay attention.
Like your parents of your partner. Let me say this better. You better like the parents of your partner, because that's who you're getting. Your partner.
All right, people, did you hear that?
Your partner turning into their parents. Either same, a reaction to, seemingly opposite, but not so opposite. So really, beware if you hate your in-laws. Beware.
Does your partner ever have the trait of, did Billy, you know what I'm trying to say, but I can't say it.
One parent, but not the other?
Could he have, because I think Billy has the traits of my father.
Here's the thing. Yes, that's also possible, that he could have the traits of your parents. Like, you two could have similar traits, right? Both come from your parents, right? Like, Will and I are both super nerds. Will and I are both into education. Will and I are both love family focus. Will and I both are stubborn. Will and I both are arrogant. Like, we both have the
Yay!
For sure. But how it's interesting to work on lineage, honestly, the thing that I love about teaching lineage when I'm working with couples is because when a couple understands that we have the traits of our parents and it is not our fault. It is our responsibility, but it is not our fault. Sometimes
Nothing we can do.
it can bring some forgiveness to the table where that thing, like if you're upset your partner has a bad habit or an addiction or just a bad trait that gets you riled up, and you understand that everyone has 7 and they come from the parents and there's no avoiding it. It's hardwired. Now you can have power with it, but it's really
little empathy. Well, it's like part of their DNA.
It's helpful. Like it's really helpful. Like my husband's when my mother-in-law's here right now, right? So she's hyperactive and he's hyperactive. And when I see that, I'm like, oh, I picked a hyperactive guy, right? Like, and I'm gonna have a hyperactive kid. I have one, right? So it's cute. All 4 of us just like at the dinner table, we're just
oh my God.
Down. Anyway, again, it's a perspective that allows the heart to lead versus the head or the trigger to lead. The other thing is that we often pick people who have traits that plug in our traits. Like I'm a worrier, and then he's kind of like an avoider or like a procrastinator. And the more he avoids and procrastinates, the more I worry, and the more I worry, the more he wants to get the fuck away from me. Excuse me. Sorry, Mayor. Okay. So
the young woman. Yeah.
So sometimes when you can see that the traits come from each lineage and then they're feeding off of each other, you can start to just treat it like, oh, this is our spiritual practice. This is our curriculum. This is not a mistake, an accident, a curse. It's our curriculum. So let's evolve ourselves, right? I'm selfish and Will is overly generous. It's part of my curriculum to be more generous, and it's part of his curriculum to be less generous in life. So we found each other, and we could hate that about each other, or we could go, okay, I found you on purpose. I liked you on purpose. We're supposed to actually work together to evolve our lineages. That's why we came together.
I think that's the whipped cream and the cherry pie for me. Is that how beautiful is that? That you're like all of a sudden you're looking at a relationship in a much bigger spectrum. That in the tiny moment of your time of life, 20, 30 years of a marriage or whatever it might be, 10 years of a relationship, 5, that the reason why you're together is actually both of you to learn and benefit and kind of have a practice, like people have Buddhism, people have Tai Chi, people have yoga, have a practice so that you can get better at your weakness. I love that.
Why not? And then we die.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then we die. And then we come back like an elephant.
And I hope we learn something.
No, I'm coming back like an elephant. All right, now this is a hard one because I have no idea what it means, but I know you're going to teach everyone here. Popcorning, what is it? And part 2, why is communication and not interrupting so damn important?
Well, communication is the number 1 thing people complain about in relationships. Men complain about women nagging and wanting to talk too much about too many things and thinking too many things are wrong. Anyone? Anybody relate? And women complain that men don't communicate. Don't say their feelings. Don't talk about what's on their mind.
We're all the same. We all say the same thing.
There are some trends. So communication is very important. I think it's very obvious to most people that interrupting gives the speaker the impression that you're not interested in what they're saying. And for some people, makes it very hard to even get a flow going or get to their point. And people are very different in their styles of communication. I personally have no problem being interrupted. I love chit-chatting with my girlfriends and interrupting each other. I don't take personal offense at it, and I don't mean anything offensive when I do it. But for my husband, it is impossible for him to keep a train of thought when I interrupt him, which is not fair. It's just not fair of me to do to him, right? So popcorning is interrupting on an even bigger scale. Popcorning is what I call when you're going about your day-to-day business, and this became way worse in the pandemic because people were sharing space, which they normally don't, right? So normally if you're at work and your partner's at work, or you're at home and your partner's at work, popcorning is just a text and you can turn off your notifications so you're not interrupted. But if you're both at home and you haven't set any ground rules, and one or both of you think you can interrupt each other in whatever they're doing at any time, it can become incredibly disruptive. And again, kind of invisible. Like, why am I annoyed? Well, I'm annoyed because even though I was sitting here in the kitchen, you know, putting the groceries away, I was actually thinking about something when you came in and started talking to me. Or I was actually writing a very important email. Or I was so the notion, my husband taught me this, the notion that at any given time, each of us is actually doing something, which means the other one is not entitled to interrupt what we are doing.
So in popcorning the sense that you have to check in and say, it's a good time to talk?
Well, popcorning just is when the popcorn pops at any time. So the experience a lot of women have when their women are home is like, honey, can you reach that for me? Honey, can you do, honey, what do you think?
I'm in the middle of something. Popcorning.
That's what popcorning means. I came up with.
And probably in the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah, it probably was in the pandemic all the time. Because we were all on top of each other.
Correct. And nobody thought to make boundaries. Like, you know that in the bathroom you close the door because you don't want someone watching you use the toilet, right? Like, there's certain boundaries we know to set. We know to put a away message when we leave our email for a week. Most of us, not all of us. Okay, but like when you're now sharing space with someone, you know, for me, I had my whole own room with a locked door. And without that, I would have been in shambles. And my husband and I have rules. We don't interrupt each other during the day. We do not assume we have each other's attention during our assigned work hours. And we both work from home.
Yeah, so. You're working. Yeah, you both work from home. You have to treat it like an office. You wouldn't just barge into someone's office. Yeah.
Some people do popcorn at work as well. But I really try to teach people, design it how it works for you. It works for me to get a text. I don't have my notifications on. I check my text when I want to. And if you need me urgently, that's the best way, or by an email, right? Like, I'll check my text and email when I want to, but nobody's going to assault how I choose to design to spend my time. I get to choose, period.
Wow.
And it's time with my family. I'm with my family. Nobody's interrupting me.
Yeah. Is popcorning a thing that really created after the pandemic?
No, I'm sure.
Or no?
I'm sure in many couples, popcorning was a phenomenon before the pandemic. It just got worse because the physical boundaries disappeared. What I do tell couples to do is design rituals that work for you. So I have a ritual every morning. I specifically walk my kid to school with my husband, and then we take a walk, jog, bike ride after that for a half an hour. And we specifically do talk about our feelings during that time. And then we specifically meet at 9:00 every night for a half an hour as well. And we have a list of questions we go through where we debrief our day. So, and we always have family.
So you do that every day?
Every day. I'm not saying everyone should do it every day.
I didn't hear the beginning part because you cut out. What's the morning ritual? You take the kids to school?
After we drop the kid, we have a half an hour exercise to get talk time together. Then at night we
about anything.
No,
about
specifically about our feelings. So it's specifically like, I call it a feelings party or a purge. It's specifically like, I'm feeling this, I'm worried about that. It's a feelings party.
It's a reverberation of feeling.
Correct. It's not logistics.
Okay, and then the nighttime is logistics?
And then, by the way, in that meeting, the feelings meeting, we each take a turn and the other one's not allowed to interrupt. I interrupt twice today, so I owe some consequences. But you take a full turn of your own and then it's the other person's turn. And it's just sharing. It's just sharing. We could do logistics after, but we do all our sharing first. And then at night, we do specific questions. What did we succeed at in the day? What were our mistakes of the day? What do we want to beat the other one for? How are we being responsible for our traits? So we have a design conversation. And then anything else is like an email or a text, right? We don't need to, there's no need to interrupt each other during the day because we know we're going to have that time, right? Like if a kid knows they're going to get your time, they're not interrupting you all the time.
Yeah. I think the beautiful thing about this, and I do have one final thing and then we're going to wrap up, is that the interesting thing, and I won't lie, I was afraid of Handel in the beginning, but the interesting thing is that it's so structured like you would want a company to be, and therefore it respects the concept of relationship on such a high level. And I think a lot of friends that I've talked to that are having problems in relationship or afraid of relationship don't want to look at the fact that there actually is work to be done. But in anything, like when you clean your desktop, then you can have a productive day. When you clean your house, your closet, then you can have a you feel better. So
Right.
why wouldn't you treat a relationship by cleaning your closet, the cobwebs and all, and then you have a really pretty closet. I love the fact that you have rituals every morning. I mean, Billy and I, we have rituals, but not those, but it's fine. Everyone's got their own
Yeah,
thing.
it's true.
But I love that because it gives such a high level of respect to your
Yeah.
relationship, to your marriage, to your family.
Yeah.
Love that. All
I'm
right.
so
So in
proud of it.
conclusion,
It really it really will make you proud. It really will make you proud, to your point.
I think so. I mean, it makes you proud because you know that you're putting the work into something that you really love, that you want to work. And if you're talking about a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year marriage,
Right.
it's a lot of fucking work. A lot of fucking blowjobs.
There's no coasting in anything you want to be impressed by.
But,
Okay.
so tell me, Laurie, about your program, about your classes, where to find you, anything. And if you have another minute and someone's here and they want a question, but I don't think we have a minute. So tell me where people find you.
On time, folks. All you have to do is follow Laurie Gerber _coach. It's that simple.
Heard that, people? I'll post it.
Laurie Gerber _coach. LAURIEGERBER _coach. In there, in the links in the bio, you will find everything. You will find my favorite digital program. You will find my group coaching class. You will find my free, wonderful tons of free content. Tuesdays is my couples competency day. So gobs and gobs and gobs of couples competency free videos. Sign up for the free newsletter. The free newsletter
free,
is
people, free. Pay attention, free.
Free newsletter, free videos,
Free.
and paid stuff. Everything's in the link in bio on Instagram. So just follow me on Instagram and see what you like.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Laurie's great at really letting people get so much material for free. And then, of course, you can hire her and you work with her, but take advantage of it. Relationships are hard, and she is the bomb. My girlfriend Rita said, boundaries and structure, children have them. Why should an adult?
Exactly. Because
right?
we are just children in grown-up suits. It's true.
Anyway.
I just got to find me a man now. That is Inner You Love. That is one of our digital programs. That is one of my favorite topics.
Oh, yeah.
So,
wait, what's the name of it again?
Inner You Love.
Inner You Love. I know, because I did Inner You with you, and now the Inner You Love.
Exactly.
So, Rita, just look in the bio, and she'll find your man. She's in Canada. Can you find a man in Canada?
There are men everywhere.
Are there men in Canada?
I'm not personally finding the man, but I have a tremendous amount of resources for you. Yes.
Hello.
Right, I gotta go. Mwah.
I love you. Bye. All right. That was, oh my God, I have some people on here. Hi, Callie. Let's see who else is here. Amy in the house, Frey, Pamela, Sheila. I don't know if any of you are still here. I will post this. Laurie is the bomb. I love her. She's a wealth of information. She talks faster than me. She has such a great sense of humor. She is a teacher. She will find you a man in Canada. Inner You Love is her program. I will put her Instagram on here when I post it. And she's on Instagram every day, and she gives away a ton of free content. And I'm telling you, she is a gem. There's just so much good information. Relationships are hard. We've all been through them. Billy and I are about to hit 23 years. I'm madly in love with him. And yeah, at times I want to kill him. And like this morning, he wanted to kill me. We're not going to kill each other. But, it's just life. And when you throw stress in, and we have a dog that's dying, and Billy has a blood clot, and, the world is falling apart, blah, 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 blah. You throw all of that into it, it adds to the relationship. And I think My greatest joy in life is to talk about love. If you don't know me, I'm like a love bug. I love talking about love. I love talking about relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think the only way that we grow as individuals is to be in relationship, whether it's girlfriend, regular friend, whether it's parents, siblings, lovers, partners. We only grow from what we learn from our role in these relationships. That's just what me, little Diana E. Barnett, thinks. And that's how I learn. That's how I grow. And I have relationships with men that have not worked. I have relationships with men that have worked but have come to an end. And then I'm on my second marriage. My first marriage was very short. And this is 23. I'm not going to be with anyone but Billy. I mean, he's the love of my life. He's my joy. He's my everything. You know, he's my love. Not coming out right. But yeah, he's my heart. But it doesn't mean that we don't work at it. You know, I mean, we work all the time at it. And like I said, you throw life in, medical issues, financial issues, work issues, family issues. The one thing that everything that Laurie said was brilliant, but the one thing that I really liked that she helped me remember is that we be careful because you marry. She said, you better like your partner's parents. Pay attention to that. You better like your partner's parents because those traits, that's what he's going to grow, he or she is going to grow into. Those traits he's going to grow into. Billy's father was an incredibly beautiful man who died when Billy was 17. He was calm. He was patient. He was loving. He was spiritual. He was Buddha-like. That's Billy. That's all Billy. But his mother, who I adored, who died in 2004, I believe. She was a tough girl, and she was stubborn as all hell. And Billy, anyway, I love you all 3 of you, 2 of you, 20 of you, 9. I had 9 million people today. I didn't know I had that many followers. 9 million people. Should we go out with a bang? Let me get my my production director, Chico's on vacation. So I had to do hair and makeup all by myself. All right. Flow of love. The glow of love. We all need to find it. We got to work for it, but we can find it. Love. All right. I love you all. Until next time. Chatting with Di.